Hello, hello. Today I want to talk about the power of water. So I guess a little backstory. My childhood involved a lot of me living beside the ocean, like literally right beside the ocean, and in a very small town, and in a very old home, and very simple. And it rained a lot, and there was a lot of, I guess, untouched sort of natural environment, only sort of 200 meters away out of the town sort of thing. And so like water played a really big part, I guess, in my life, and the cycles of water and the experiences of Mother Nature's water, if you want to call it. And maybe at the time I probably took it for granted, and even though I was reminded a number of times by my parents to appreciate, living in this such environment. Sometimes you kind of have to be outside that environment to then really look at it and go, oh wow, yeah, that was a really beautiful experience to have had. And I feel having those experiences have really made me appreciate water. And like even I'm thinking now of like some beautiful little festivals I go to, and sometimes I get called like the water fairy, and I've always got a water bottle, and I really appreciate the importance of water. And by no way, shape or form is this some kind of like sales video. I've seen like so many people talk about water, and then it's like some Cajun water. Yeah, I'm not here to sell you anything for the purpose of this video. Okay, anyway, so with the purpose of the video is to sort of, I guess, remind you about harnessing your power, your divinity, and your love with water. And I assume if you're going to be coming from certain religious backgrounds, you might not want to continue watching this. You'll say this is like, I don't know, black magic or whatever, and that's cool. That's your belief. That's fine. But yeah, I want to share, I guess, some things that I know about water, and that may help other people with the water that they have in their life, and how can you, harness that power. So another little reminder is to try and obtain your water from natural sources as possible. So, preferably water that's moving in a natural source, such as like a river, right? With no added sort of chemicals to it, and no added pollution. Now, I do understand that can be very hard to actually obtain, depending on where you are in the world, and a whole other varies of circumstances. But yes, if you can, do so. If you can't, look at how far along the scale of that you can obtain water. And I'm sure some of you have probably heard of Dr. Emoto's work with water. Bless him, he's no longer here on the earth side, but he did some beautiful work actually with water molecules and exposing them to different environments to learn about how water can be influenced by the environment. So how an environment can really influence water is, to me, just makes sense. But I know for some it's woo-woo, or for others it's like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So yeah, and what he found, that he was able to create cymatic patterns. Cymatic sort of means like being able to, with cymatics and sound, it's kind of like you're making sound visible. So yeah, it was like these patterns that he was able to observe of the water molecules, and some were more beautiful than others depending on the environment. And I know when I'm talking about environment here, with his work, he was doing a lot of things that was actually the invoking of words. So, or should I say, using words to invoke the water. So he found that when he had certain words that had, I guess, we had meaning on them, or a certain emotion in them, depending on what kind of emotion that was associated, obviously often with that word, would depend on potentially how beautiful that water molecule would display itself as. So yeah, very interesting stuff. And there is other science out there. I'm sure you might be able to find some of that online. Or maybe you're blessed to know someone that is actually studying something very similar. So yeah, please, if you do know someone, leave some comments in the comment section down below. I'd love to read some more articles about the science of that. You know, a lot of our ancient peoples, they already kind of know a lot of the stuff. They're like, okay, yeah, well, our people figured that out like over 100,000 years ago, but cool. I'm glad that science is now allowed to actually show that. Anyway, digressing. So I guess I'm going to touch on a few little techniques that you can use to, I guess, harness the power of the water. And you know, the first one is blessing your water, you know, with intention, with gratitude. You know, that could be when you're having a shower, when you need to go to the toilet. Maybe you don't because your toilet's composting, but you know, when you're washing your hands, when you are swimming, you know, all of those sort of things, anything which you are coming in contact with water, you know, blessing that water, giving gratitude to that water, you know, where do you think it comes from, or where do you think it's traveled, or what do you think it's providing for you and your community, and just like, yeah, being really intentional. You know, some people might say it's like a prayer of just, you know, really like blessing that water. And another tip I want to talk about is labeling water. I don't really love labeling anything, but I guess, you know, labeling water that you're drinking. Or you don't have to be drinking it. It could be, again, just any water you come in contact with. So an example of that would be, maybe you've got a drink bottle or a favourite mug, and making a sign, or buying a mug that says a certain thing right on it, and it's like sort of putting a label on that device in which you are using to extract water. If you're getting water from a tap, you could maybe have a picture above the tap. And again, you know, it's using like certain words or certain symbols that you feel invoke a particular kind of, you know, if it's a vibration of love, emotion of love, then, you know, you could be putting that into your water every time you come in contact with it. So there's the blessing aspect of it, you know, the intention, the gratitude for it. But there's also like the reminder of it, of like, you know, if you want to put love in it, you could maybe print a label on your drink bottle and put love, or maybe you could find a drink bottle that has love, or you could paint a picture or something that represents love to you and stick it, you know, on the wall somewhere in your, you know, by the tap. So that's just some examples. Another one is things like crystals and stones. Like if you've got crystals and stones that you already have, or you know, maybe you find and you feel like you've been given permission to pick up that stone, all of that, there's a whole protocol around that, I'm sure. You know, and checking that crystal, that stone is actually safe to be residing in water. You could put it in your drink bottle, in your cup, at the bottom of your shower, you know, that sort of stuff. You could, you know, infuse that when they're learning about the properties or the stories of that stone, you know, and every time you're drinking from a drink bottle that has that stone in it, you know, sometimes it's a reminder of a certain emotion or vibration that you're wanting to embody and to share with yourself and others. And then the last one to talk about is sound frequencies. So listening or playing sound into water, you know, this kind of goes back to the Dr. Emoto sort of work that I was talking about before, because your voice creates a sound. I mean, everything has a sound, but just using it as an example, your voice creates a sound, and that can be infused into water. So when you think about certain frequencies, or certain maybe songs that you listen to that remind you of a certain, I guess, experience that might embody some kind of emotion that you really enjoy, or that you would like to embody more of in your life, you know, having that and playing that into the music. You know, maybe you're a singer, so you want to sing into your music, you know, all these kind of things. And you know, when it's coming from a place of like love and expansion, and it's unconditional, you know, and you're not stuck on what should come from this, I feel it's usually a good thing. Although, like I said before, I am sure there are other belief systems out there will say that it's not to be messed with and it's black magic and whatever. But I guess my idea is like, well, if you're not trying to manipulate someone or something into doing something that goes beyond their free will or whatever, you know, like, and the intention is just for, you know, love and it's unconditional, usually it's a good thing. But, you know, what's good, what's bad, that's a whole other topic, right? Now, I would like to just let you know that there is a hertz that's actually quite conducive and works really well with water, and that is 528 hertz. It's also on the solfeggio scale. I have a tuning fork. I've got a tuning fork set. It's in there. You can tune guitars to 528 hertz as well. I've got crystal bowls that play at 528 hertz. So yeah, it's a pitch that can work really well with water, especially if you want to incorporate sound. As I said, sound is everything. So, you know, and water, there's a whole other topic I could talk about here, but it potentially, well, I say potentially because I don't know where you are on the scale of understanding of this, holds memory. You know, hence why also water is so important, and your relationship with it is so important as well. Anyway, that's sort of a slightly away from where I wanted to go. So yeah, like I said, blessing water, putting little pictures and symbols around words with water, crystals, stones, you can use things like that. Sound frequencies, words, things like that, all of that can be a nice way to sort of like be more intentional and focused with your relationship with water. And yeah, I'm just curious to know if you already do embody some of those techniques, and if you have anything that you want to share about your understanding of the power of water. We already know scientifically that it's necessary for the human to, you know, to have water. It's all running through our body. We need water every day. I'm sure there's some raw foodists out there that might tell you that dry fasting is somewhat safe, but you know, that's, well, it's not necessarily, no, they won't tell you it's safe, but you know, obviously there are some techniques that people use where they might go without water for a number of days. This is not me promoting it, but yeah, what I'm trying to say is generally water is very important for the living and the thriving of the human, and pretty much nearly everything else on this planet. So yeah, that's what I want to share about the power of water, harnessing the power of water, putting your love and your divinity into it, the sacredness of water and your sacredness into it. And yeah, hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you soon.